Welcome to What the Hex, your source for Warhammer Underworlds in under 30 horrible blessings of the Grandfather. Tonight I'm your host from the sick bay, Phil, and joining me is our local Typhoid Mary, Brian. How are you doing, Brian?
What's up? Doing well, despite the ailments.
We're coming at you today on February 1st, 2026. For a little bit of gardening. We're actually completely changing up the podcast. It's now a gardening podcast.
We're in the middle of Wisconsin winter.
Yeah, we're going to head on over to Guyran, do a little bit of early spring planning.
You got to start in the winter, otherwise you're really not planning ahead.
Yeah. But before we talk about any of that, we are going to hit a few community shout outs. And I will just give a quick shout out to a few different content creators, many of whom you are used to hearing shout out because they have a constant stream of things. But Spent Glory's got a new feature token article, which is always great to see. And over on Staggerers, there is a different sort of perspective on playing Jaws, which is a little less aggro. So two common articles from content creators we see frequently. I will shout out the Underworld Underground has yet another episode out, doing a quick meta review. Great to see another podcast out there. Well, not another podcast, but a returning podcast continuing to put out content. And then the overall stats sort of review of Underworlds from Realmsite 77 has a blog article out sort of positing that Underworlds is too boring right now. So I will let folks go and check that out themselves rather than color your opinions with my own takes from reading that article. But
intentionally clickbait title.
Yeah, he does address that. Yeah, just a few selections. Brian, anything that you would like to shout out to the community?
Yeah, if you'll indulge me, I have a whole bunch of events shouting out as we start ramping up for,
of course,
earning those tickets to qualify for Worlds. I think the ones that are made aware of us and we've been asked to shout out. If you want yours shouted out, just reach out to us. But first up and imminent is the Cherokee Open in North Carolina here in the U.S., February 20th to the 22nd.
Oh boy.
I believe there's a ticket available there. And then, yeah, it's coming up close. And then we have our local Q1 Madtown Throwdown here in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. That'll be just no ticket there. It's just preparation for Adepticon if you're feeling like you want to, if you're more local and you want to come hang out, feel free to join us for that one. And then we have, of course, Adepticon at the end of March, ticket available for there. And then going on to May, we have the Alberta Classic up in Alberta, Canada. I believe 3 tickets there put on by Legendaric. And then we have also in May the Canadian Tabletop Championship. Sorry, the Alberta Classic, I'll say, is May 2nd. And then the Canadian Tabletop Championship in Ottawa at the nation's capital is May 23rd and 24th. And I believe there will be
double dip in May in Canada.
Yeah. Been to both events, both recommend. Great dudes in Canada, and stealing tickets from them was a joy. And so there's 3 tickets at each of those events. And then we have in June 13th is our Madtown Throwdown, our Q2 event, our World Qualifier event. And I'm excited to say that we as well have 3 tickets on offer.
Very nice.
We already
coming up in the world.
Yeah, we're moving up. So we're excited to maybe draw a little more attention than even Adepticon if you really want to have a better shot at getting on the podium and earning one of our 3 tickets.
For sure.
So already got some people signed up and traveling, so
be absolutely thrilled to have as many people show up as we possibly can. We will do everything in our power to help with coordination of hotels, travel, what have you. If folks are not familiar with the Madison area, we've done it in the past. We'll do it again. We would love to be good hosts for anybody coming in to compete.
Yeah, just reach out and we will be happy to help and give any recommendations, and as well as spend time on the days before or after the event as well to make your trip even more worthwhile.
Sure thing.
And then just the last one I was asked to shout out was Goonhammer Open. I believe they haven't updated their website yet, but I believe it occurs on 4th of July weekend. And that'll be over on the East Coast.
It's a bit tough asking people.
I might be wrong on that,
compete.
but I think it's really close to that. So it's on or close, but that's as close of a date as I could find.
Sure, a bit of a busy time, but I suppose it helps in the sense that people might have vacation, so can make like long weekend plans. So.
Yeah, for me, like Adepticon is always a go-to, but then it's like for others, it's spring break that like is a no-go zone, and I'm like, why not? So it's for others, you know, Skylar always has his family camp on 4th of July weekend, so for him, it's a no-go. But yeah, preferences will vary. So just to put all those different events on your radar.
Yeah, great to shout out everybody. Lots of events in the next few months. Obviously, July is a bit further out. We'll probably mention that again closer to the event once we have more accurate dates for you. But just want everyone to, in you know, the North America circuit to feel empowered to come and play. And I suppose for anybody who's come in from anywhere else who wants to play with us, but not used to having more international travel than that. You know, normally we would skip our what the hex is going on with you section, but I feel like it's been a while since we've given anybody any updates. So Brian, what you been up to in between baby time?
For me, I've been getting a lot of hobby progress done for preparation for my Adepticon event that I run, is the Adepticon Titan Walk. Getting together a bunch of assets to run the event, as well as like little participation banners that I've been making. So building hype and all that, trying to get back to painting slowly but surely. Like just I can get the models like to that 60-70% done, and then just I can't seem to find the time, or it's tough with the kids. So trying to adapt and all that.
We were expecting to be joined by Skylar tonight, and Kira had other plans. So
yeah, we got hijacked.
I think at this point we are fully besieged by babies.
Yeah, Zach even he just had his own kid.
Yeah, just brand new. So I'm now the sole childless one trying to hold this ship together. But no, it's good. It's good, and glad to hear you're getting some paint down. What warband are you looking at right now?
Well, the last warband that I was putting paint down was on Karnoth's Heralds for Skylar, but he's been floating around his interests on other things, and I keep telling him like, you really got to hype me up and tell me like how much you want to play with these guys to get me more committed to painting. But he's just kind of like flittering around to all the other elf war bands that he's enjoying as well. So I just got to get after it.
Well, I was helping him my most recent play session, helping him with Adepticon prep, and he played two different things. And yeah, I mean, it's understandable when you have so many different choices that it's hard to pick. But
as long as it's got pointy ears, he's in. Like he threw for a lane at me, and I felt completely ignored. I was not a hindrance to his game plan whatsoever.
Yeah. But no, I played against his Soul Raid, and then I saw that he got to play his Briarwood stuff. And like, I almost felt bad because I was like, okay, well, you probably need to play into Wormspat, right? And he's like, yep, totally. And then I had absolutely zero problem with Wormspat, just like walking through his stuff. His scoring was still solid. No, that game was against the Soul Raid, and like his scoring was still pretty solid, but I was killing his fighters off pretty quickly, and like only Furain was really the problem for me to kill. So it was just attrition thing eventually, and it was like, yep, sorry, bud. Like
Wormspat are so tough.
Wormspat. He did a total of 4 damage to me throughout the entire game, and I healed 1 of it. So it was just like, yeah,
it just wasn't connecting, or
he was hitting, but I was always rolling shields, so it was like 1 damage attacks, and then I had healing potion, and killing a lot of his fighters quickly because they also have really strong aggro stats. So
I wonder if we're going to see like Headsman's return. I wonder if Headsman would,
maybe,
in order to deal with. Yeah,
no idea. We'll have to ask Zach when
he
just resurfaces.
Disappeared, and I don't really understand why.
I think. Well, anyway, don't need to speculate on that.
Yeah, getting off topic.
Very much so. Our main topic today, though, grandfather's gardeners. We're going to try and give folks a bit of an overview of them and use some of Brian's insights from playing them probably 100 times at this point.
Easily.
Yeah. Like what are some of the strategies for them? So to start us off, I think a great place to start with any warband this edition is just who are the fighters that you should care about and what does their war scroll do?
Yeah. So, also, this kind of builds off of a love letter article that I wrote for Fish Mode over on the Spent Glory.
Definitely go
check it out. Hopefully going to go into a little bit further detail there. There I was definitely trying to keep it to a love letter, not just a total strategic breakdown. So that's where you can hear me opining on the great values of the gardeners. But yeah, so IRL, not a gardener. I don't bother. I do the lawn care and I keep it nice and tidy, but I don't do anything with rose beds or nothing like that. So the gardeners did not really speak to me from the outset. The models were another group of plague bearers with some cool ticks.
They sure are.
which are their own version of disturbing, but that's about all the flavor they get. But the warband really grew on me once I started painting them. Once I was playing with them and the cycle, it really, really nailed the narrative of undying zombies living on the razor's edge of death, just seemingly can't be put down for good and stay down without having a resurrect mechanic, while also not being Wormspat disgustingly resilient. I just really found they threaded the needle on that and just hit the bullseye for me. So as far as the warband goes, you got 4 plague bearers and a fly. And the fly is just such a good pet. Such a good pet. But so you really got, I would say, 3 archetypes within this warband. You got Phlegmus, because he just has slightly different stats than the rest of them. Then you got the 3 plague bearers, which really can be kind of summarized very much the same. They have the same stat block, move, defense, health, and bounty, except Stru's got 2. But they all take advantage of when they inspire, they get a 4th wound, and that is really like a defining trait of these 3 guys. They have sticks or they have a sword, and then you have the fly. The fly is their mover, but he's also the one unique guy who doesn't have the unique grandfather's damage characteristic, the blooming plague. So among these fighters, they inspire when they get vulnerable. So you have Phlegmus, who's got 4 health. You got 3 on each of the other plague bearers, and then 2 on Squirt. So I don't know what that, never actually counted it. 9. So you got 15 health across the board.
Yeah, a pretty average total when you count it all up.
Yeah. But then if you manage to inspire them and you gain the health, it goes up to 18, which that's respectable.
Pretty good.
But then we really can't, I struggle to talk about just the fighters because so much of it depends on the war scroll. The war scroll really is
Absolutely.
like there's synergy here between the fighters, and the war scroll is insane. And I think the most out of any other war band in the game. So for me, they really embody the virtues of second edition and having war scroll with war bands. So, like I said, they inspire when they get vulnerable. So you got to bear in mind the varied health stats in each of them. But the most impetuous rule that they have is imperturbable, which will drive your opponents nuts. No more than 2 damage
Absolutely.
can be inflicted on an uninspired friendly fighter on the same turn. So in a world where there's just a ton of aggro, these guys only have like 1 shield or 2 dodge on the fly, and they just change the paradigm of what do we do against all these aggro dice? How do I build up my defense in order to? They don't care. Just take it. Just give it to me, and
Yeah.
I'll just take 2. We call it good. You look, congrats, you got a successful attack. Do your thing. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. Love it. The imperturbable really shines on the 3 plague bearers because that's when just 2 damage happens to them. They inspire. Now they have 4 health total, so they have 2 health remaining. It just means you got to hit them twice with 2 damage. God forbid I roll a stand fast or I have any heals
Yeah.
in my deck, or hey, on the war scroll.
Oh, and how would you manage to possibly do that?
Because now we got to get into the big shiny cycle on the war scroll. So
Yeah.
I've only talked about the side column, but the bulk of the war scroll is the cycle. It's got 7 spots, 7 for Nurgle, obviously, and the cycle advances each time after your turn. After your turn, if your warband holds more treasure tokens than your opponent, and after each time damage is inflicted on a friendly fighter. So that's each unique instance of damage, not each ping of damage. So if a 3 damage attack lands, that's 1 step forward on the cycle. But if you follow it up with a ping card, then that's a new instance of damage and it will advance again.
Yep. Absolutely. Makes tracking for your opponent a little difficult because they then have to be thinking about like, well, where are you going to be because of the hold stuff, and then if I hit you, where does that put you? So you end up having to track it.
Yeah, so a note on the tracking just from the outset. Having played 100 some games, I absolutely love playing with 2 markers on the tracker. It doesn't say anything about doing this or anything. It just says have 1 and then you advance it whenever it ticks.
Yeah.
But I have 2 on there, and I have like a coin, and then I have a little miniature that sits on top of the coin. And the thing I do is, when you get damaged, that's pretty easy. Just move it forward.
Yep.
But after your turn, because it's after the power step, you both pass. Your opponent can get really excited and just be like charge, and we're moving forward. I don't always like grab the token right away because sometimes I'm reaching for a card in my hand. So having 2 tokens on the cycle, what I do is after I have been delving or whatever, if I'm on, after my turn, I'll be like, currently I'm holding more, and I place the miniature on the forecasted spot on the cycle. So it's either going to go 1 or 2 spaces.
Yeah.
But this allows me to have a history to show where it was, where it's going, so that if we speed into the opponent's turn, we can see, well, it was here, but now it's meant to be here. That way there's no ambiguity about when it shifts and then it goes into a new phase and potentially causes a heal, which can feel bad.
Sure can.
But in my experience, I've never had it where having the tracker reveals too much to my opponent. If my opponent is savvy enough to know what to be wary of on the tracker, they already will know.
Yeah.
But this by far gets rid of the questioning and like inquisition of, did you already move your tracker or did you move it and now you're moving it forward and so it's advantageous? Like the skepticism, it's not worth it.
Yeah. No.
Just having the 2 tokens has made my game so much more fun. Your opponent feels like you're being transparent with them. Obviously, you still got to be good about it because you can still get way out of line with it if you're just completely neglecting it. But it's always been appreciated by my opponents as I go, and it's just helpful to me, really.
Yeah. I think we've seen enough at this point in this edition that there's a lot of bookkeeping aspects to a number of different decks and warbands, and having visual aids and extra things to just make it transparent has always been useful, because the last thing you really want in a game like this is to get to the end step and be like, well, wait a minute, what happened? Or get to the end of a turn and have a question as to whether something took place or not. So I think it's really helpful, just personally, when I've played against you, that like being able to try and track that out and have that visual sort of record leaves no questions. I mean, it hasn't helped me necessarily, because I'm not always great at tracking what is going to happen when to make it move, but seeing it at least to know that, like, okay, well, you currently are holding more, so it's going to end up here. Can at least try to help to be like, okay, maybe I do need to play this ping now to get you off that 3 damage spot.
Right. Yeah, because for each step of the cycle, it also dictates the damage that the plague bearers are causing. It sets the damage stat during their turn.
Yeah.
So in order, starting at the start spot on the cycle, it's 1-1 round number, 2-2, 3-2, and then you're back at the start.
Yeah.
And so essentially you have a small lull, especially early on. Like, they don't start off aggro because you're effectively having 2 to 3 turns of only 1 damage caused by the plague bearers. So they don't, you're getting off pretty light in round 1. So it's again, I think a really balanced warband. I think it's a lot of fun for that reason. Naturally, and then can't skip over the heal part.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of an important piece there, sort of towards the tail third of the cycle.
Yeah, so the 5th spot on the cycle is the Reap a Harvest ability, and this is a surge, so you can heal, but critically the FAQ, so whenever this ticks over, whether it's after your turn and you're holding more treasure or you're not, but if you're dealt damage and it ticks over into the Reap a Harvest spot, that critically the FAQ has ruled that the heal happens simultaneously to the damage being applied, even if this damage would kill the fighter.
Yeah.
So if I have a vulnerable fighter and you're dealing 1 damage and the heal is triggered, then I'm not dead, and the damage is essentially not inflicted. Now, if you're dealing 2 damage and you're exceeding my health, what I have left, then they will still die.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things that, like, by the way the rules are written, it definitely is correct. It makes sense to rule it that way, but it's still a bit unintuitive. So it's like a good one, I think, to call out to your opponent, or if you're playing against these guys, to ask about, just for clarification, to make sure they know that it works this way, because it is a bit weird in that, like, oh, I can hit you, you're technically dead, but because the taken out of action check happens after the heal, you can save them. So
yeah, so similarly to the token tracker, I always just head off any arguments, because that's potentially a feel bad moment, because the timing is so specific. It's really unique, I think, within the game, to head off any arguments and say at the beginning of the game, this is what this heal is capable of doing, just to let you know. And especially if you're playing in an event or something, that's the one warning, right? After that, you're kind of like, it's on you to remember.
Yep.
And I did that all throughout Worlds, and every time somebody forgot, they always said, nope, you warned me. Dang.
I should have remembered, and I didn't. That's on me.
And it just leads to a way better experience for you and your opponents, especially if you're both like respecting each other's game and gameplay. So that was, rather than being a feel bad, was an excellent point for like a competitive handshake kind of a thing.
For sure. So we've got a set of fighters where only one of them can really be killed in one hit, but you still have to hit them for 2
Right.
damage. You've got fighters whose damage is always changing throughout the entire game, and you have fighters who are able to heal pretty constantly if you are not focus firing. Does that sound like a pretty accurate recap?
I wouldn't say that they're healing constantly. It is deceptive because when they inspire, they gain a damage or gain a heal. Oh my god, gain
Right.
a health. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like that's deceptive. The heal is on the 5th spot, so we're talking about after each one of my turns. So in a round, it's going 4 spaces around of 7. And if you're dealing no damage to me. But if I'm holding more treasure, suddenly I'm going 8 spaces around.
Yep.
So it really depends if my opponent is also playing the treasure game and whether or not they're dealing damage to me. And so I've seen builds where they include self-harm like cards, self-ping
Try and make it
cards
go
as well,
faster.
trying to help manipulate it faster.
That
And
seems unintuitive to me.
it makes some sense. If you time it right, you could like push yourself onto the 3 damage spot and 3 damage. And it's not Grievous locked. Like you can add Grievous to that and make it 4.
Yeah.
So anytime I see that it's a aggro deck that is bringing the self-harm pings, that is trying to manipulate it. And personally, I just don't think that is worth the juice.
Yeah, that health is probably more valuable.
Yeah. For me, it's like this warband is resilient and trying to heal and mitigate essentially your bounty accrual. And any help against that is going against their own purpose. And so I can understand wanting to manipulate the cycle more than that. I think in very niche situations, it would be, absolute cinema. But
yeah,
it's not been worth the squeeze in my opinion. But it's a really fun mechanic, and being able to move it around, it's led to all sorts of situations, especially with the Reap a Harvest heal, being able to be like, oh, secretly that guy isn't actually in any danger of dying. Just knowing that in my own head. And then, sometimes when you're playing a newer opponent, you're like, I don't think you really want to make that attack if you pay attention to my cycle. And they're like, well, it's the only optional target. I'm like, I'd still like sink damage elsewhere, but whatever. You just tell them up front.
They got to learn somehow.
But yeah, when you're dealing with I think a few notes just on the pro side of piloting them. Obviously, any sort of defensive upgrades you can put on, like sharp reflexes, is good and possibly quick.
Sure. Just slow down actually taking in the damage at all.
But the more they really lend themselves to feature tokens, whether it's through Pillage and Plunder or through Emberstone Sentinels, just being on the tokens, because then you have control and manipulation over that throttle on your own cycle. Being able to speed it up through the ones and be on more treasure tokens, and then when it gets to the round number point on the cycle, flipping those treasure tokens back down so that you're not holding more, and you can slow your roll through the 2 damage and 3 damage. I love that so much. If your opponent isn't bothering at all, then it really feels like dominant control. And the only thing you have to overcome is, I think their greatest weakness is accuracy. They're dealing with 2 hammers average, or 3 swords, or 2 swords at worst with the tick.
Yeah. So you say you think hold strategy or strategies that care about being on tokens, not necessarily holding, is sort of their best feature, and I think that speaks to their survivability. Some warbands are good at hold and stand on token strategies because they can like either swarm the board, or they're really fast, or they have certain tricks to just like cover the board quickly. Whereas these guys, very much, in my experience anyway, it's felt more like the way Nurgle is sort of depicted, where it's just like it's not coming quickly, it's not
Mhm.
coming aggressively, but it's just gonna happen. It's inevitable.
Yes.
And so these guys just sort of slowly, they spread out, they cover the board, and then it's like, we're here, we're standing here, deal with it.
Yep.
And if you can't, uh, at that point, it's really it's kind of on you to then have some sort of a game plan to be able to say, how am I getting these guys off these tokens? And
Mhm.
I imagine on the flip side, you've probably then got some sort of a plan to stay on the tokens.
Yeah, typically that's been my preference for how to build them, is to make sure that once I'm there, I'm locked in, and I'm going a step further from the Nurgle analogy of just this slow encroaching, because they only move 3,
Yep.
except for the fly. So movement is another deficiency of theirs. But once I'm there, I want to just be locked in. I want to dig in like a tick and just be impossible to remove. And you just feel like this damn thing won't shift.
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun. That's I think the best pairing for that has been Emberstone and Pillage, and
Sure.
that's what I ran the vast majority of my experience. We can talk about some alternative strategies, but I want to highlight another thing about Squirt the Fly.
Sure.
So he's the only fighter who doesn't have the dependable or dependent damage characteristic on the cycle. So he's only hitting for 1, but he's got Crit Grievous. So he's
Sure.
usually the guy that I throw out when I'm in the Wonderland of only 1 damage. And so he's just my Hail Mary. If I'm only going to do 1 damage, I'll do 1 damage with a chance at Crit Grievous.
Sure.
But the Fly, obviously only having 2 health, is the one fighter that can be one shot quite easily. He's also the fighter with 2 dodge. So there's a better chance of rolling Standfast, and then he will be at 1 health, and therefore he'll inspire. You, as the Gardener's opponent, never, ever want to intentionally deal only 1 damage to Squirt. Because inspired, this guy's kind of insane. He goes from 2 hammers, 1 damage with Crit Grievous, to 3 swords, 2 damage, and still Crit Grievous.
Yeah, and he's relatively quick, right?
And he's still 4 move, which for compared to the other 3 or 4 guys is light speed. So anything else on top of that, explosive charges, great speed, obviously for free helps. But just being able to threaten a 3 damage attack from the Fly is terrifying.
Yeah.
And then with 3 swords, if I give him Keen Eye, then it's even more threatening. And he's also my overrun tech piece.
Sure. But, just roll enough dice.
The best upgrade on him is absolutely Great Fortitude. Because then with +1 health, he is absolutely equivalent in just about every sense to the other 3 Plague Bearers. Great Fortitude on the Squirtitude has driven my opponents mad to no end, because suddenly he is as tanky as the other 3 Plague Bearers.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, because normally he's being only 2 health. He's relatively easy to one-shot.
Yeah.
Plenty of fighters who can hit for 2. Yeah. And having that, you have that stop point of 2, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. He's still dead anyway. But once he's up to 3, now he gets to play that game as well, where it's like, oh, you hit me, but it stops.
Yeah, imperturbable applies to him. Like it already did, but it doesn't. Like
he doesn't have enough health. Yeah. So extra annoying then to have to deal with that. I think
extra sauce.
Yeah. Another thing, since we're sort of on the topic of imperturbable, the wording there is really important in that it's 2 damage in a turn, not in an action or something.
Right.
So even if you hit them, knock them down to 1, you then can't ping them to finish them off, because it's still the same turn.
Right.
So you have to spread it across multiple turns, which can be tricky because your opponent probably has ways to heal. They have the heal on the wheel. So if possible, play your pings in previous your opponent's previous power step,
Yeah.
so that going into your activation, you are then able to hit a already softened target.
Yeah, now we're going to get into how to beat them.
Yeah.
So, and this
And we
specifically
don't,
applies, huh?
yeah, we don't have to completely shift, but I just figured since we were talking about imperturbable and the war
Yeah.
scroll again, before
No,
we
and
got away from it.
the war scroll holds the answers to how to beat them as well.
For sure.
So you're exactly right. Like, and this applies to the 3 plague bearers, not Phlegmus, because they are 3 health. So if you lead with your ping, and I don't have a way to counteract that if I don't have healing potion in hand or some other heal, lead with the ping. Obviously, not when it's going to trigger Reap the Harvest.
Yeah.
Then you've already dealt damage to me, and we're going into a new turn. So therefore, Imperturbable has reset. And then if you attack for 2 damage, you're still causing 3 health to be lost before this fighter can inspire, because they inspire after an action step. So
Yeah.
there's no again, Reap the Harvest could save my bacon here. But if you deal a ping and then do 2 damage, the fighter will just die. They won't inspire off of that.
Right. Yeah. So this, I mean, it's really good to know that, like, hey, that's the way to do it. And if you're gonna have pings, don't use them in a way that's like sort of wasteful. Because if they're just gonna heal, then that ping was completely negated.
Yeah. And that is, I think, the final pro of this warband of what they got going for them is they really, more than any other warband, I think, puts the analysis paralysis and the brain burn onto the opponent. If you're practiced with the gardeners and your opponent isn't, they are going to have so much more fatigue about, like, overwhelmed with information, trying to figure out, okay, what were all those tips I listened to at What the Hex about how to deal with them?
Yeah.
And, like, looking at the cycle, being like, okay, well, if I hit now, then I'm pushing them into 3 damage. I don't want that, you know?
You're right.
And because that's the other thing is, like, the whole time you're striking at me, I am threatening, you're pushing it closer to more damage, unless you're on the back half. But, you know, you just got to pay attention to where the cycle is, where you're going to put it. I've had turns where I'm sitting on Reap a Harvest. I've already done the heal, or it has, the fighters haven't needed to be healed. And my opponent hasn't attacked me because they didn't want to push me into the 3 damage and set up my turn for an aggressive turn.
Yeah.
And that's a good move. That's a wise move.
Yeah. I mean, it can certainly make a huge difference in a game, whether you're hitting for 3 or 2. So, yeah. Other things that when you are playing as this warband, like what you don't want your opponent to be doing to you?
First and foremost, and again, if Skyler was here, he could tell you all about it. But as much as this warband is living on the knife's edge of death, and it's Nurgle, and it's infesting, and it's slow, and it brings on the despair of Nurgle as you're like, these guys just won't die. The more knowledgeable you are about them, the more you know and practice how to play against them, the more you are prepared, like a surgeon, how to excise them and get rid of the tumor. So the main thing I don't want you doing, and especially this goes doubly so for any one of them that's playing Emberstone and likely bringing Supremacy, I don't want you gunning hard for Strug. Strug is the guy with the pitchfork. He is just as easy to kill as the other 2 Plague Bearers. The hardest one to kill is Phlegmus, the leader.
Yep.
He's 2 bounty, but so is Strug. So Strug is the best bang for your buck in terms of sinking damage into him.
Yep.
And if I'm running Supremacy, it puts me in a bigger bind. Like, you can use cards to keep Phlegmus off of a treasure token. And then it becomes really hard for me to score Supremacy if you're kicking Phlegmus off, because I got to get the other 3 on. So if you're not gonna kill the entire warband. So if you're gonna go for the bounty and figure out where it is, go for Strug. Phlegmus would be the second one, but he's kind of a stretch goal, just because he's got 4 health. He doesn't increase to 5 health. He stays at 4, but that 4 health kind of buys him time for those reap harvests to come around.
For
And
sure.
likely I'm packing more heals in there to make it feel like these guys are healing all the time.
Yep. It certainly does feel that way. And Phlegmus is a pretty solid fighter in his own regards. So like going toe to toe with him, knowing you're going to have to hit him twice means you're just giving him an opportunity to hit you back usually.
Yeah. And like 3 of these fighters have range 2 sticks. And
Yep.
if they're on the right cycle point, they're dealing 3 damage at range 2. That's really rare in this edition.
Yeah. Very, very dangerous.
So while it's very inconsistent, it's still like something that's another peak highlight kind of for them. But it is really hard to get the timing right. And your opponent, if they're paying attention, they will not let you.
Yeah. And I suppose that sort of then means that there's a bit of a matchup dependent sort of chicken game, right? Of like, if you're both playing hold strategies, your opponent may just be like, well, I don't really need to attack you that hard. So I'm going
Right.
to be like very calculated about when I land attacks, or even attempt to attack you.
Yeah.
And that can slow you down in that early part where you say, you're stuck in your 1 damage segment. And then it's just like, who had better cards?
then I'm just swinging for overrun. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is Strug is my best overrun guy because he's got 3 swords base.
So he gets the dice.
Right. So he's usually who I'll hold in reserve to get that objective that you're trying to deny me in my territory, kind of a thing. So he's another golden child for that reason.
So then I imagine some good card effects to have available to you or your opponent really, is guard,
Yep.
not being able to be driven back, and confusion, right?
Absolutely. My toughest matchups as the Gardeners with my Pillage Emberstone build is into a Mirror Pillar and Pillage Emberstone.
I imagine that makes sense.
Yeah. My toughest matchups with them was definitely like Borgits. Bobby was playing a lot of Borgits with Emberstone Pillage, and that in that case, they're less defensive, but they're more offensive. And especially with Uglug having Cleave, the attrition rate was something that they couldn't keep pace on. Like we could score the same, but he's going to kill more of me than I will of him, unless I get lucky and can chop Uglug down early.
Makes sense.
Other warbands that they struggle with is other hold warbands that will kind of dig in and entrench. I had a lot of tough games into Skinnerkin, or not Skinnerkin. We'll get back to Skinnerkin though. The Seraphon, the Starblood Stalkers.
Yeah,
because they have like a bunch of 2 dodge fighters after they inspire, and they inspire rather quickly, especially compared to me. And if they're running confusion, then they can really do it. But they're 2 dodge, and in their own territory, they're getting a reroll on top of it. So they would just dig in. But more than anything is my own War Scroll cycle only dealing 1 damage. I can't consistently blow up those skinks.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
So like they have some matchups, and it's funny as the Gardeners players, it's like, oh, what's to be afraid of in Underworlds? And it's like, well, barf. They don't care.
Yeah, you want to come and hit me for 4 damage? Whatever.
Right. Imperturbable says, nah, good talk. So that's a lot of fun. Gardeners with Pillage Emberstone is the matchup that Barf fears, which is hilarious to be the thing that Barf fears, because everything fears Barf. And so that's a lot of fun, but it's interesting too, because you kind of totally switch gears where like attacking is completely unnecessary unless you're trying to overrun. You just don't even care. You just don't engage with Barf on offense, because then you're likely feeding some of their objectives as well.
Right.
And you got more glory to score than they do. And because Gardeners are tough to shift, they aren't going to get as much bounty as they rely on in order to score high enough. So those are really fun matchups. I can't stop raving about how they shift the paradigm in Underworlds.
Being a bit of a counter aggro is kind of neat because there's not very many warbands that can be like, I am the anti-aggro. I shut
Right.
down the aggression. Because most warbands, even if they're trying to be defensive, it's like, well, if your opponent rolls enough dice, eventually they'll get there.
Right.
Gardeners, it's like, nah, you'll hit me, but it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Zarbag's gets when they're doing the hold tech, they can be a bit challenging, but I've also just played so much as Zarbags that I also know how to target them. Uh,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun against Alexander at Worlds where, I kind of gave him my brief on gardeners, and he's like, yeah, I'd be aware, be cautious. And they were a little more aggro gets than they were hold gets. So I was like,
Yeah.
I think I could do this. And I just did a maneuver where I charged next to Snurk in order to ping myself in order to increase my damage so that I could bop one of the other grots that was next to Snurk for 2 damage. And then after the turn, I was holding more, so I just went right into the heal. And Alexander's like, "Oh, you're a problem."
I don't like that.
And like the Polish kids, very good players, but they're very stoic. So when I got that reaction out of him, I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, always a good feeling to be like, yes, I am also good at this game. All right, so we have a pretty good sense of what they're good at. I think we've kind of talked around this a little bit, but like if you had to just put it into specific terminology, if you had to say what's their biggest weakness, what do you think is the thing they are worst at? Accuracy.
Stand and keep them off treasure token. Yeah, in terms of what they lack is accuracy.
Okay.
They lack movement as well. So if you can spread the treasure tokens out when you deploy it, especially if they're further than 3, like, because then I'm really relying on overrun in order to get on those tokens. So spreading out those feature tokens. But like that's round 1. Once I'm there, then I'm gonna entrench.
Yeah, you get there eventually.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give myself at least 2 of them. But if you're on more of them, if you're just on 3 of them, then you can throttle my cycle as you see fit.
Sure.
And then as far as aggro, like the imperturbable just means that it's going to take at least 2 hits to kill me. Like you have to.
Yeah.
Unless you can do a ping well and time it right, like after I just healed and you ping and you attack. But yeah, accuracy, they are like my dominant games where there's a blowout is when my accuracy is on fire and the dice are just really supportive of that.
Shockingly, I think that's most of the time when people are dominating games is when they don't miss.
Like I can win games consistently by several glory, but that's when it feels bad is when my offense is also popping off. But if my opponent's not paying attention, I had a game where I was playing against Mollog and I just wasn't engaging at all. But then I was just in dominant control of the treasure token, so I was able to throttle it just as much as I wanted. And so I landed on the round number where it was round 3, and I'm like, you know what? I think I could play this right, where I might just 2-shot the troll.
Oh,
and
boy.
I had Glory Seeker on one guy, and I had Great Strength on the other guy. So sure enough, I managed to land the 4 damage on the troll at the round number. I throttled the treasure tokens as needed. So then when it came back to me, I was on the 3 again with another Grievous, and I just bam hit the troll for 8 damage total in two activations.
Gnarly. You don't see that very often. That is something.
Yeah, they can roll it.
It's interesting because now we have 2 Nurgle warbands, and they do somewhat similar things in that the damage reduction from Wormspat is less consistent, but is also annoying in that it slows things down.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the crackback that I feel like makes both of them scary, in that it's like, oh my god, these 2 warbands can hit for like 3 or 4 damage. This is nuts.
Well, and Gardeners, like before we got Wormspat back, like Gardeners were just like an epiphany of like what Nurgle could be on a War Scroll, and then Wormspat came in, and they're just such tough stats, and
Yeah.
their War Scroll has such good abilities too, just like reliable old reliable from first edition
Yep.
abilities, and I was like, oh, kind of stealing my thunder here.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I very much enjoy Gardeners in the sense that they are more of like it's in your control, it's pilotable. Whereas with Wormspat, you're just hoping for those shields because it does add an unknown variable. You know, if Headsman's Curse is swinging for 4 damage and they're trying to get a kill shot on somebody, there's always that chance that you roll the shield and it throws it off that the Headsman player can't rely on. But I'd say the Gardeners have that too with Standfast sometimes. So every time one of those pops up, it's basically a heal. Yeah. And I always pack Great Fortitude, Healing Potion, and Prideful Duelist. So I'm essentially got 3 heals in my deck, and any Standfast is just cherry.
Yeah. So since you mentioned some cards and things that you like to pack in your deck, we've talked a decent amount about the different things that you like about your pairing of Emberstone and Pillage. Is there anything else from that pairing that you want to highlight specifically?
The redundancy of the power card deck. 2 heal cards. There's like 3 push. No, there's like Duelist and Swift Step, and then you have Confusion. By the Numbers those are like 2 outlier cards that just do unique things. But By the Numbers is going to get you more consistency of seeing these cards. But there's just so many cards that double up. Prideful Duelist, Healing Potion, Great Fortitude. Also, I consider a heal. And then having Wary Delver and Settle In, 2 guard tech tokens.
Really nice.
So much redundancy, just doubling up Glory Seeker and Great Strength. You got Keen Eye in there as well that I consider like overrun tech. I don't even care if the attack hits. And so I love it. The objective deck is just smooth enough. Like you got to really get lost in the sauce on delving and know when it's beneficial to hold more, hold less, and then knowing when you can still flip the tokens in order to score the objectives, Torn Landscape or Supremacy, in Iron Grasp. So the biggest skill check is the objectives. In not losing yourself in the delving sauce. But it's a lot of fun. I love it. But the power deck is so redundant that I never I never feel wanting.
Yeah, that makes sense because like a lot of times when you build out decks, it's like, ooh man, it would be really awesome to have this hand of like getting these effects. But since there's just the one of that thing, if you don't see it at the right time, it's like, well, that kind of sucks. But when you can double up on all those effects, it's like, well, plus having some extra card draw, you're pretty likely that you're going to see what you need when you need it, or at least be able to hold on to it for an opportune moment. So definitely makes sense. On the surface, it's one of those deck pairings that it's like, oh, that's going to be really tough because the scoring is kind of counter to each other. But to your point, if you really sort of learn the patterns and the delving timing, you can make them work together, and it's not too bad actually.
Yeah, it took some time to refine it, knowing essentially you have 8 opportunities to delve, and counting that down is how I kind of manage what I can or can't delve, what I need to invest in. That takes the most practice. That takes the most reps.
Yeah. And I mean, not to belabor anything with Pillage too much, because I think we've talked about it enough, but just from a like gameplay standpoint of I'm going to see Pillage, I'm going to have to play against it. Tracking the opportunities for delving, when your opponent could or couldn't, where they could or couldn't. Like, these are things that even if you don't have any interest in playing the deck, you need to know these things because you're going to see it. It's powerful enough that it's going to show up in tournaments. And like, that is the way that you handle, to some degree anyway, pillage. I mean, there's some stuff where it's just like, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't get over there to stop them from delving. But knowing like when to maybe pull out a push card or a confusion or something to be like, okay, you are now going to be blocked out from this opportunity to delve, which means you've lost one of those 8 opportunities, which then also means maybe something in your hand doesn't score this round, which means you're clogging, your hand. So good things to just always keep in mind as pillage continues to be ascendant in the game, sort of in general. I know Barf was the overall winner of the World's Championship, but there was a lot of pillage still.
And for me, like, as a pillage enjoyer, I don't see it as the sins of pillage. I see it as the lack of options other than pillage.
I fully agree with you.
Like, yeah, Barf can just like be so, and Barf has its place. I think we all wish that the deck spread was a little different, but it's one where I think the 2 restrictions in pillage are warranted. I hear arguments for Canny Sapper, but I personally don't use Canny Sapper.
Yeah, you probably don't need it.
I do think that Canny Sapper should have been like 1 cost for an upgrade, just so that it wasn't free out the gate. But the cost of spending a ploy, probably not in an ideal timing, is significant, and that's why I ended up trying it out and cutting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, pillage, I think these guys leverage it really well, and just adding a little bit more brain burn to the opponent with trying to track Broken Prospects.
Yep. Yeah. Broken Prospects strip combo is always fun to have to sort of suss out, like, which one are they going for now? Which one do I need to work harder to counter right at this moment?
Yeah, and just packing strip and supremacy like I do, you're just earning so much glory. There is many times where, your opponent's just like, well, I need Torn Landscape, so I'm going to risk it and delve mine down because I'm on the other 4.
Sounds
and
good.
Then suddenly I'm getting strip. And there was at least 3 times at Worlds where they're just like, yeah, I knew the risk and I
did it anyway.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes. Very cool. So I know that you are very much an enjoyer of your Emberstone Pillage combo, and that is probably really the only deck you would ever play with this warband. But if you had to choose other pairings to put with them, what do you think can work?
I have seen, like I was talking about with the aggro, trying to leverage the 3 damage on a stick. I've seen blazing and rack stuff. Again, I think the pings to yourself aren't worth it. I could understand if you're like keeping one of your plague bearers in the backfield as kind of your ping sponge, just to be kind of cruel to him and keeping him out of reach. That might be okay, but I just think that those pairings like blazing rack don't offer enough defense to keep up with the attack attrition, because they're taking these attacks on the chin. It's the combination of Emberstone and Pillage that makes it where I can keep up, where I can take those attacks on the chin and recoup it. But otherwise, they're still taking these attacks on the chin. And so you're going to die if you're not doubling down on the defense. But like trying to leverage the aggro, I don't think you're going to out aggro anybody because their accuracy is not good.
Sure.
2 hammers is the average. They get better when they inspire, but you're vulnerable, and if you're running one of these aggro things, you're gonna die because you were vulnerable when you inspired. So that's where like I've been able to inspire and then heal somebody with Pillage Emberstone. So I think there's merits, but I don't think trying to aggro when you have aggro warbands like Wormspat out there. You're just not going to win that race. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's sort of like they do it better. So if you lean into that, you're probably just going to get blown up, right?
yeah, you're, I don't know the car analogy great, but it'd be like you're trying to take a tanky pickup truck and race it in an F1 race, where the F1 races are just the blitzing you down with aggro warbands. Like they're just built differently.
Yeah. Any
I don't want
consideration?
to see the deck that is aggro enough to make gardeners come up to match.
Oh
Because
man, yeah, that would be gross. I think such a deck existing would probably be a bad portent for just the game in general.
I will say, if Reckless Fury wasn't forsaken like
Oh my
crazy,
god, yeah, of course it would be. Like,
the what's the upgrade that you don't die? Could you imagine on gardeners?
no, I can,
Atrocious.
but like, no, please, God, no.
Please, God, no.
Yeah. So I guess so. Probably not a lot of other possibilities with Spitewood having come out. Any other considerations with Aqua Garanis, or I guess maybe with either of the two new decks? Anything you've given thought to with Gardeners?
I do think with so again, I think Rack and Ruin has got merit because it's asking again more because the two end phase objectives for two, you know, don't be adjacent and don't be in edge hexes. That's also furthering the divide of attention on your
Yep.
opponent. I think that's got plenty of merit, especially when, by comparison, like Pillage Strip is super easy to counter. As much as it's a huge glory score, it's so easy to counter.
It is. Yeah.
So like, there's plenty of merit and plenty of games where I'm just not going to score Strip because they're also taking hold. Like I said, those are the hardest matchups.
Yeah.
So I think Rack has a lot of merit. It's just finding that other thing to pair with it that I haven't had the same charm. Of course, Fireproof is also amazing for them. But Hunting Grounds, I wanted to work with them, but with Hunting Grounds, you really have to incentivize pinned. And so you're throwing 2 treasure tokens and the Aqua Garanis token to your edge hexes close to no man's land. And again, their movement is not good. So you're not wanting to have to run across the entire board in order to like support yourselves. And I haven't found it successful just taking the warband and having 2 teams on either side of the warband or either side of the board. So like I wanted Hunting Ground to do something. Deadly Synergy, outmuscled is just so easy. I could see what's the other one with synchronized, no, not synchronized effort, but where you're the hitting 3 times with United Fighters.
Oh, yeah. It's just make 3 attacks with United Fighters. I don't remember the name of it either, but
Yeah, but it has to be melee attacks, doesn't it?
they do have to be melee attacks. But you've got range 2, so right, it makes it a little easier for you.
So like maybe there's something there for me to cook with.
Be interesting. I'm surprised how many warbands can actually use that deck.
Yeah.
Not the topic today, but it has been surprising.
Yeah, but I think Outmuscled needs to get it restricted. But until then, like maybe I should start cooking with it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like probably nothing really with Spitewood. It sounded like there was just the very slightest hint as to what you were saying you wanted to do with the Aqua Garanis, but just to put a pin
so
in
Aqua
that.
Garanis, typically I'm not on it because I'm on the treasure tokens. I have 5 fighters. There's
Right.
5 treasure tokens. I'm not deviating a fighter to go stand on the Aqua Garanis. So
sure,
or
right.
to go stand on the Waystones. Sorry. So Waystones are a non-starter for me.
Right.
So because typically they're just going to benefit my opponent.
Yeah. Play old boards if you can, right?
Yes. And then when it comes to Aqua Garanis, I might put the fly on that if
Sure.
the game plan's going well enough. But usually it's buried. Usually I can't really reach it. So sometimes it's incidental. But typically I'd rather have redundancy. If I need 3 fighters on there, I want 4 fighters on treasure tokens.
Yeah. Does having another token you can delve help you at all, or is that sort of
No,
irrelevant?
I cut delving for wealth and claim the prize
Okay.
from my deck, um, because I'm taking supremacy.
Sure. Yeah. Got to
So,
stay on those treasures.
yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was easy money when those two were not restricted.
Oh, yeah. Why not? I'll just stand back here and delve.
Yeah, well, they should be restricted, but
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's everything I was wondering about. I think we've covered a pretty good amount of stuff here. Anything last sort of thoughts for the warband or decks that you would like people to know?
I definitely think Candy Sapper is something I am just not capitalizing on. So that would probably be a ton of fun to incorporate in there and use better than me.
Sure.
So try it out. I really want feedback on this. I don't see enough people playing Gardeners, and like enough people trying it. Like, feel free, give it a try. I think it's to start, it's madness, but it's so much fun. Uh, the love letter that I wrote for Fish Mode, it really emphasized how, again, the narrative, the Nurgle despair just really locks into your opponent when they aren't prepared to play against them, and then when they are prepared and they're just surgically dissecting you, manipulating your own cycle better than I can, and removing fighters clinically without much fuss about, like, when I reach the reap a harvest and I'm already full health because everybody is dead.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you game respect game. Like, they brought their they studied,
Yeah.
but it takes a unique tool set to do that so effectively. And I've actually, with once I got past the like hurdle of delving and the madness of making sure I don't put myself into a corner with that, I started learning how to use cards in a depressing manner. In a sense that you would get an attack off on one of my characters, and then I'm not even at Reap a Harvest, but I use Healing Potion, Great Fortitude, and I put defense on the other guy who's been wounded, and then now I go after my turn and Reap a Harvest triggers, so now I'm back to full health with everybody, and just watching the despair set in.
Yeah.
Like, I, all while being, genuinely nice to your opponent, but just playing these cards in a specific way that is, it's going to be demoralizing because you've just undone all of the progress that they've made.
Yeah.
And that alone can really give you an advantage. Like, I don't want to drag my opponent's spirits through the mud. Like, I want to have a insightful game for both of us. But if you're at a competitive event, it has an effect. And being able to talk through them and be like, again, briefing them beforehand of what your warband is capable of and what your pairing is, that they can see, but experiencing it is different. And we all can't help but feel those emotions and go, what?
Yeah. It's very easy, I think, against this warband once things sort of start to slide a little bit and it starts to feel like, well, I'm never going to kill any of these guys. You can like sort of feel that that energy start to sap at you, and it's like you have to remember that if you focus, you will kill at least one or two of these guys, but you really do need to just like stick to your guns, keep focusing, because if you let that sort of despair creep in and it's just like, well, I guess these attacks don't really matter, I'll just throw them out willy-nilly. It's like, no, that's the wrong way to do this.
Yeah, you're gonna kill two. You're probably gonna kill 2 plague bearers. Why not go for the double bounty Stroog?
Yeah.
Like, the thing that also is just obnoxious that I do is I put the tick or slunge ahead. And so you think you're chewing through those guys. No, bypass those guys. Go for Stroog. Just go for Stroog.
Yeah. If you got the speed, definitely make that work.
Yeah. And again, like, the despair can set in, but if you arm yourself with knowledge and you like studying this warband really and like getting those reps in really pays off and like can be really satisfying.
Yeah.
Because they're by no means invincible. I try my darndest to make them invincible and make you feel like they're invincible, but it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Again, it's that Nurgle despair. If you just power through, you can do damage.
Yeah. Don't let chaos win.
Or do.
Well, it was a very fun conversation, Brian. As we close things out here, are you still planning to play these guys at AdeptCon coming up?
Currently, yes. Just because I wish I knew how to quit you, but they're just the most like unique warband I think we've seen. Certainly in second edition, but I think in a long time.
Yeah, no, they're very. It's a very elegant design, which is really nice. It's like very little going on the fighter cards or the war scroll, and yet it is this really deep mechanic. So.
But I also have alternate art fighter cards, and it's really cool.
Also, a good reason to play a warband.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
I wish I could get more into Blood of the Bull though, but Chaos Dwarves have just never done it for me.
That's fair. You know, sometimes the models can be the thing that keeps you off of a warband. I've certainly felt that before. And I think that's one of the cool things about this game is that like there are certain aesthetic choices that are maybe overriding mechanical ones.
Yeah, I do think that grandfathers might be held back by that, but some people just
probably
true.
That.
But I mean, like, I think Golgotch's big belly and Sepsimus's thing are like way worse than what the Gardeners are bringing.
I think Nurgle is just in general pretty horrific, and those models are always less than appealing to me. But I would guess that it's very polarizing. Either people really like Nurgle or they really don't, and so that's maybe part of the reason we don't see enough Gardeners. But
yeah, and I don't get elves, but Skylar just can't stop.
Hey, yeah, no, I don't get it either. But more power to everybody having their choices and the things that they can like. I mean, that's the great part about having such model diversity. Yep. Well, folks, if you want to play against Brian's Gardeners, I guess stay tuned and hopefully see him at AdeptCon because it sounds like you'll have the opportunity.
Yeah, unless we get a big shakeup or something and something else catches my eye of like a unique warband. That's really it. Is like I've played so many different chaos warbands in first edition and a lot of them have their own rules, but like this, it's fresh, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's different. It's fun. It's unique.
Still fresh decay to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we're like, 8 weeks away from AdeptCon, you might shift here.
Yeah, that's never worked out for me.
No, it's not always a good plan, but all right. I think that's going to do it for us today. If you'd like to reach out to talk some Gardeners or just give us some of your own thoughts about your favorite warbands you like to deep dive on, you could reach out to us at our Discord. We're always happy to chat over there. I got folks from all over the world chatting it up a little bit. And
if you want to play a game with me, then like reach out there as well.
Yeah, Vassal.
I'll give you a taste.
You can always play online. Well, maybe not always these days, but, can set something up. And then if you'd rather just shoot us an email for some just private feedback, you can do that at whatthehexcast@gmail.com. You can check out any other content that we have, past episodes, or anything else about the sort of lore of the Mortal Realms over on themortalrealms.com, which is the house for all of our other shows. Davey,
they finally got the episode out on the Chaos Dwarves.
It's a little inside joke there. But I believe Davey is still working on his Hexodus blog posts as well. So keep your eye out there if you'd like to see more of Davey's experience with new and different warbands. Thanks as always to GW and our patrons. And anybody who's donated to the show in general. It is always gratifying to know that there are folks who are willing to help support us monetarily. We don't expect it. We don't ask it of anyone. We want this content to always be available to anyone. But we are eternally grateful to everybody who does help support the show.
Yeah, it was extremely humbling, all the support that we got during Worlds and helping us get to stream Worlds. Absolutely.
Coming up next, we don't know. as we've been sort of navigating this post worlds lull a little bit, we've gotten to be able to catch up on a bunch of different random topics. I've been kicking around some thoughts about like what does control mean as a sort of like a play style in second edition. So we might revisit the idea of control as a play style.
Yeah.
And as always, balance updates and new releases can drop kind of out of the blue. So if any of that stuff comes up, just know we will always sort of drop everything to make that our priority, because
there does tend to be one before Adepticon, but that was
yeah.
after like LVO was in Vegas still at
getting those
January,
preview shows and stuff usually meant there was something, but now there's
instead they had the Palm Springs open, which Thomas won.
That's true. Yeah, with his Shadeborn, which shout out Thomas for doing something that probably no one was really expecting, although he played them at Worlds to pretty solid effect.
He went positive 6-4, I believe.
Yeah, across the whole thing. Didn't make top cut, obviously, but still very, very respectable. And running Annihilation, I believe. So
yeah,
mad lad there. Hey Brian, we've reached the part of the episode where you have to go back to school. Yeah, no, of course not. Don't be scared. There's no reason to be scared. Grandfather's gifts are a blessing, not a curse. So this one I will tell you because it's tough, I think, for quoting cards that have the warband of the topic in the art, because it may really not have anything to do with the topic or the warband, but they are. I will just tell you, one of the fighters from this warband is pictured in the art.
Unstoppable.
Oh my God, I didn't even say the... All right. Well, for folks who want to know what the flavor text was, it's even when all the world is breaking apart, there are always those who are able to stand firm. And Brian got it. It is unstoppable. And that's funny.
Front center.
Phlegmus with his literal pot belly. Yeah. Just standing in there.
That is, from a modeling standpoint, I thought that was just like so on the nose. I was just like, come on.
Real good. Good.
The little miniature that I have for my cycle token is the little pot gremlin demon thing that's literally just a copper pot on legs that I got from the sorcerer kit. And that, I'm like,
nice.
All right, I tied it together. So I had a little bit more fun with the pot belly thing.
Neat. Well, I don't think that's ever happened before. Somebody calling the flavor text before I've even read it. But
first,
to round this out, your recommended listening for today, I know Davey would normally have some sort of deeper cut or an insightful, like,
you can never tell where he's coming from.
Well, and it's always like, how do you find these things that like match up so perfectly with the topics? But for this one, getting a little metal for the chaos here. We're going Down with the Sickness from The Sickness by Disturbed. For What the Hex, I've been Phil.
And I've been Brian.
Yes.